When co-parenting is tough, what do I do? What do I do? Good evening, everyone. Welcome once again to another Family Talk Live with the Dukies. And today we have um, another riveting topic to discuss with you. So call your friend, call your mommy, call your daddy, call your uncle, auntie, everybody, because you may want to hear what we have to talk about today. We're talking co parenting. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Hello, hello, welcome. Good evening. Happy Monday. Welcome once again to another Family Talk Live with the Dukies. I am Sanya Duki.
And I'm Courtney Dookie.
And we are the founders of Dukies Institute, an organization dedicated to transforming and supporting Christian family life. And so today we're talking parenting.
Yes.
I know generally we talk marriage and general relationship, but we've been asked this question a few times, quite a few times. What do I do when I'm not on the same page or my spouse is not on the same page as me? What do I do?
Yeah, it's been a difficult questions and difficult question and difficult road to travel for
Yes.
many, because sometimes when people get separated and there's a divorce or a separation, whatever the case might be, and the parenting styles are different, and sometimes it can be frustrating
Yes.
for people to navigate.
hmm
And today we're going to talk about probably some tips and strategies
Yes.
that we can implement
Yes.
to help them navigate the co-parenting journey.
Yes. So we have a few people joining us from different places today. We are on our YouTube channel. We are on LinkedIn. We're also on our Facebook page, and I believe that we're on my Facebook profile.
Yes.
So for individuals who are just joining us for the first time, we are psychotherapists. So Dr. Duke here is a psychologist, and I'm a mental health therapist. And the past 2 years, we've really been intentional in supporting the Christian community, using our skills as psychologists and psychotherapists to support family life, helping marriages to be restored, and transforming our parenting and seeing how we can do it from a biblical perspective, and also sharing the strategies that we have been helping families with for over 10 years, supporting families with. We want to share that with the Christian community as well. So here we are. Here we are. So for those who are joining us live, just let us know you're here and where you're joining us from. Say hello. Talk to us. We want to hear from you. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them. We'll be more than willing to
Yes.
answer. And yeah, just let us know that you're here. So when co-parenting is tough, what do we do about it? We're going to be covering three major points for you today, and hopefully by the end of this session, you'll be able to leave with some tips as to what you and your spouse can do differently, or your co-parent to do differently moving forward. So first off, we want to find out, what is the impact? What are the impact of working together, the positive impact of working together. And of course, there are also negative implications to that as well.
Well, working together has the positive will always be what goes on for, especially when there's a divorce or a separation, right? The positive is that if we work together, the potential exists we can keep at least some level of normalcy
Yes.
for the child.
For the child. Yes.
Right, so that's a key one. Sometimes when when couples separate from each other, and as much as it is possible, it's going to be helpful for children or for a child to have that consistency, some normalcy going on. So that's a positive. Um, Oftentimes, if you think about it, what could be some negatives from that separation? Negatives, again, if you break that consistency and the child is being now thrown back and forth and to and from, and the child doesn't understand, you know what, why do I have to be with mommy this time? Why do I have to be with daddy this time? What's going on there? So when it comes to separation or divorce, those are some negatives that can happen when the child is not fully understand what's going on. And sometimes they're just at a young age and they can't understand, but as much as possible, talk more about that. But in terms of negative and positive, the positive is with co-parent is that when we're on the same page, we can maintain consistency. If we're not on the same page, it causes significant problems.
Yes, and that's what we've noticed for sure. When parents, for instance, are separated and they come together, together in our session, okay, let's draft out everything. And one of the first things I would look at with parents is look at the daily schedule of the child. And we try to see how we can maintain most of the major areas. So of course they go to school, but we have a bedtime, what that looks like. It can cause a lot of inconsistency if, you know, one child goes to bed at 7 and the other when they're at the other home, they go to bed at 10, and that really causes a lot of concerns, issues for the child. And then sometimes you find if one parent is more, like, you know, not on par with the different disciplinary values and so forth that they have, maybe one parent just, you know, is extra lenient, and the other person is trying to make up for all of that. And because, you know, all parents, I believe, just want the best for their child, but we kind of see it different, and we're going to get into that a little bit. But we find that one parent will overcompensate, and they may be seen as the rigid one. And then that's when the child may feel, okay, when they're upset with this parent, they're like, I'm going to go over that one. So it causes a whole family rift.
And the thing is that most times the situation, what I've seen is that it seems that dads are the more permissive one. They will allow the later bedtime while mom is trying to keep that. And that brings a lot of rift because they're not on the same page. And I said, we'll dig deeper into that. It's important as co-parents that we seek to get to that place where we are on the right page. And it's like the Bible says, you know, the Bible says it can two in Amos 3:3, can two walk together unless they agree. So, and this doesn't only apply, sometimes we use this in multiple contexts. We can use this, can a husband or wife function together unless they agree with each other? The same thing applies to a co-parenting relationship. Can we really effectively co-parent? Can we really work together? Can we walk together as parents? Unless we agree. So there needs to be an agreement. There needs to be something that we're going to connect this into, so we can maintain that consistency. And I love the way Amos said it. It's simple. Can two walk together? Unless they agree.
So let's bring our attention a little bit to the home. Both parents are home. But when it comes to the idea around discipline, hello, good evening. Thanks for joining us. When it comes to discipline, we find upholding different standards or expectations in the home, we may also find differences with the parents. So we have instances where one parent is more harsh, more stern, or considered to be more harsh or too stern, and then the other parent, in an effort to try to balance things out, they're a little bit more permissive. And then there are other instances too where, you know, both parents, in their mind, this is the best way to parent.
And I think one of the key things in addressing that is each parent, father and mother, need to first identify their parenting style. Are you a permissive parent, or are you a kind of an authoritarian, authoritative, dismissive? What parenting style do you use?
Mhm.
Because parenting style is going to tell us, depends on what parenting style we have, it's going to tell us a lot. Where it's coming from, how we grew up, what was it like in our own home? Was it traumatic? Was it good? What was your context like?
Yeah.
Because we all parent out of a context.
Yeah.
As fathers parent our context that they're coming from, mothers parent our context they're coming from. So imagine if you have two parents. One is, say, an authoritarian parent, and the other is a permissive parent.
Yeah.
They're going to have lots of problems there.
Yeah.
But if both of them start to understand, it seems like I'm a permissive parent. Permissive parent is not healthy,
Mhm.
and neither is authoritarian
Yeah.
parenting. But we get this from so if we understand ourselves,
Yeah.
then we can sort of look at now, we need to find a new way to do this. And that's where you might learn to develop an authoritative parenting. So that's identification of what style you have first. Source it, where it's coming from. Maybe where how you grew up, where that's coming from. Is the style or styles that are being demonstrated in the home, are those styles the appropriate ones for the children or child? And if not, what are some things we can do to develop a healthy parenting style that's going to work for the child?
Yes, so it definitely takes conversation around it, self-reflection, as was mentioned before. How was I raised?
Yes.
What are the what's my perspective towards what a parent should look like? How I should parent my child? Is it permissive or authoritarian? And then now we put all of that aside, if I can say that, because a big part of who we are helps us to be what we do, to do what we do. But now is the time when you want to ask, what is best for the child? What is the best approach for the child? And I found where a lot of times we kind of have to hold on or to what we used to do, hold on to it a different way, right? We kind of have to let go of some of those things, or as I say, hold on to it differently. Like put it over there on the shelf. You have to say, okay, you were a part of my past, no more.
Yes.
Right? And to think about what it is that, just zoning on the child. And a big part of it that we always mention to parents is that, what is your role really as a parent? Is it to control the child into submission until they're no longer under your roof, right? And so you kind of want to ask questions like those. If that is my motivation, then am I going about it the right way? Is that the right way to look at my parenting? Or are we working together to be able to support and nurture our children so they can live on a day-to-day basis with levels of autonomy, confidence, and living in the being that God has allowed them to be, right? Being their true self. And what can I do? What can we do together in order to support our children in that way? Once you have that mindset, and as the mommy and daddy, you come together and say, okay, we had our own ideas, but let's try to understand our children and let's try to see what works best for them. Let us get information or get informed, get resources as to what the best approaches are. Obviously, there's no one manual. There's no one specific manual that is the best one for parenting. There are a lot of principles from scripture. There's a lot of information and resources from long-term studies that researchers have done. There are a lot of information and resources available from professionals who have worked with lots of families and children and so forth. Those are available. People like us, we teach parenting approaches, the better ways, the strategies that gives you better success, right? We have a responsibility to be informed.
And the thing about it, we may say there's no manual, but what we know without a shadow of a doubt is that the method that works the best is the authoritative,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter where we go with this, we teach authoritative parenting styles
Mhm.
because that's where that's the important piece here. Without that, we we only find ourselves in a state of despondent.
Yes.
Any other option, if you go permissive, if you go authoritarian or dismissive, those are not going to end up
Mhm.
good.
So what is authoritative?
Authoritative parenting is basically where we find a balance between how we respond to the child and the demand. So there's a responsibility and there's demand.
Mhm.
We have demands for the child. These are principles, these are rules. So we have those. But there's also this idea of so while we have demands, we take responsibility in connecting to the child. There's some connection, right? So there has to be that level of connection, but also not connection avoid rules, but not rules void connection. We need both of those things. And that's when it comes to parenting and co-parenting, we need to nurture the balance between being demanding but connecting to these children, our children. Because if we don't, then we start to lose them. And that's an underlying theme. That's again, all the research we look at, that's the theme. If we're not doing authoritative parenting, we are missing the mark.
Yeah.
And as parents, we need to go learn. Maybe yes, as you said earlier, we need to shut off some stuff. Some stuff we've learned in the past, or we have, or our parents did it, how we saw it done. Maybe it's all wrong. I'm not gonna play around with that because we have very sensitive young minds to cater for. And as parents, we need to remember that we have God has placed in our hands some minds to sculpt and to nurture and to hone in on these minds and train these minds in the best way possible so they can be healthy spiritually, emotionally, physically, and relationally.
Yes. So we want to hear from you. What are the things that you've seen happen when parents work together? We want to hear from you. Put your comments below. I know some things that parents would say. They realize that the children start working against each other, working parents against each other. Yeah. When they notice that the parents are not in alignment with each other. And a lot of times too, it's because the children are trying to survive the situation because they love both parents, but they realize both parents are in conflict. So their way of dealing with the situation sometimes can come off as manipulative. And then we say the child is manipulating us. But we got to think, are we clearly communicating our expectations as a couple, as a husband and wife, as parents? Are we clearly communicating these to our children?
And not only that, we can communicate it to them, but just to add to what you're saying, being on the same page. Children are smart, and sometimes we use words like they're trying to manipulate a situation, they're trying to do this. But they're smart. And sometimes we use words that sort of debunk them or look down on them. They're thinking, if I ask mommy for this, I may not get it. But if I ask daddy, I may get it. And because you're on the same page. So they'll look at the situation, they assess the situation. It's not manipulation necessarily. They're thinking, they're trying to solve a problem. And their way, the way how they're solving it, we see it as manipulation. Right? They're not thinking to manipulate anyone.
Let's see how I can manipulate parents today.
Most of them don't even know.
Younger children.
They don't even know what the word manipulation means. They just think, oftentimes if I ask mommy for this thing, mommy oftentimes will say no. Well, daddy might say yes. I stand a better chance of daddy saying yes. Let me go ask daddy. Or if they ask mommy and mommy says no, they'll quietly go and see if they can. If they notice, again, if they observe that oftentimes we're not on the same page, they'll go and ask daddy and just throw it out there and hear what daddy has to say. If daddy's not gonna say, hey, did you ask your mom? And then that you'll catch them off guard. Remember, they're not trying to manipulate in the system. They're trying to get what they want and they're working the system.
to get what
to get what they want in the best way they know.
Yes.
So don't use. I sometimes I say don't use certain words. When you tell your child, your children that they're manipulative, words of power.
Yeah.
You know, they try to find ways to get to something. You say you're so manipulative. Why are you so manipulative? Those words kind of, when they hear those words, now they sort of correlate those words to different things. It's just that parents are not on the same page.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's where it's important. Co-parenting requires parents to be
Yes.
on the same
Teamwork.
page.
Teamwork. So the three things that we really wanted to cover with you today, which we have, but we didn't number them. So the first thing is that, when we work together, we help to regulate the child and regulate the home environment. We also decrease burnout
Yes.
from all the friction that's happening, and maybe one person is doing all the heavy lifting. So we help to decrease that. The second thing is that, scripture, what it says about working together is that we are stronger together. When we are having a tough time, I can tell you, there are times when I feel tired and I just know mentally and emotionally at that point in time, I'm just not there. And able to engage in a healthy way for both of us, myself and our children, my children. And so I'd call him in. I say, hey, come and take over here. And I back away, right? We need to be able to work like that, right? We need to be able to support each other from that perspective. And the other thing too, I trust him. I trust and I allow him, because sometimes, we don't really communicate that trust to our spouse or other person. And then they're not as confident either. Right. So we leave all the pressure on us to make all the decisions, the parenting decision, the discipline, and so forth. We got to trust each other in that process and learn together. We're going to make mistakes, make them together, and, talk through these things together.
This is what, let's read this text here from Ecclesiastes,
Yes.
Chapter 4 and verse 9, a few other verses. It says this: two are better than one. So two parents are better than one.
Yeah,
when you're working together, right? But because they have a good return, why they're better together? Because they have a good return on their labor.
Yes.
So let me read the entire thing for you. Two are better than one because they have a good return on their labor.
Yes, I see that happening in parenting. That when both are working together, the children fare out better.
And that's what we're aiming for. We're aiming for parents to challenge themselves.
Yes.
Oftentimes, I think why parents don't work well together is because they're not aware of their own systems that we talked about before. They're not aware of themselves, and they're seeing that this is how they're going to do it.
Yeah.
And oftentimes, I make the comments all the time. If you were born in the 80s, if you were born in the 80s and your parents were like the 50s or the 60s, and that's when they were born, and you're born in the 80s, and your parents were parenting you, there's a great chance that our parents did the best they could have done, but the methods they used were not the best. And if we try to use the same methods today, we're going to get it wrong. Again, you may say, but we turned out okay. That's not the point. The point is that we can do better. And better means, like the verse says here, two are better than one. When we get to understand ourselves and we see us working together, the result will be manifested in the outcome of our children. And I think that is an important thing. It's an important thing for us to learn as parents to work together.
Yes. So as we're wrapping up here, just summarizing our third point, which is that we need to come together as a couple and discuss our own parenting origin, how we grew up, what that template looked like for us, the template of being a parent, what that looks like. Talk about it with each other. Be open about it. Be reflective. Not putting down the other person, but more of being supportive and to say, okay, well, now that we know what our template is, what does it need to be? What is our purpose as parents? What is it that we need to do? What is our goal? And talk about your vision as parents. What is it you want to achieve together? And then you come up with ideas and objectives that you'd like to do.
And one of the things, what we train parents to do, I think if you're interested in this, make sure you reach out to us. That's one of the things we train parents to do. We train parents to get on the same page, to understand yourselves, to see. When we work with parents, the goal that we're trying to accomplish with them is for them to walk together in the parenting journey. So we go through strategies with parents. We have to understand the biblical guidance for parenting, how to get on the same page. This is something we walk with parents to teach them how to do it. Because remember, we were not given a manual, but God has blessed us over the years in our research and our studies. We've developed some strategies that can help parents, and we have seen great success with the parents we've been working with. So if you feel like, I need some help with this, you can get the help to do it. And one of the things we also encourage parents to do is to, one, we talk about being consistent, but we also look at creating a system in the home. Develop a plan of how we're going to do this. Without that, if we're not having a plan as how we're going to do this, then we're only going off we'll fly by. Consistent bedtime
routine. We have to be intentional. There's a comment here. It says, I totally agree about the methods applicable way back when then we're not necessarily fitting for the present. Yes, that's true. The methods that were used back then is not necessarily fitting for what is happening today. And so we just want to encourage you to be intentional. Just think of your parenting journey as you being a farmer. You're planting seeds. First of all, you want to plant good seeds, because for us, we get to see all the different phases of development. To see the baby stage, toddler, going all the way up to adult child. So we have been able to see the mature trees that have been that was grown or grew. What's the word? Anyway, the mature tree that occurred as a result of those small seeds that were planted. So we want to ensure that we're intentional about planting good seeds and doing it together. And if you don't know what those positive seeds are, good seeds are, read. There are so many resources out there that helps us to know how to support our children in a healthy way. And always look at your children from not just the behavioral, that's a different topic.
Yes.
But don't look at, when you're doing your reading, it's not just how do I get my child to behave, or how do I get my child to listen. Not just that. It's how can I nurture my child's heart? How can I nurture my child within a framework of discipleship? Things like those you want to also tap into. So we're so thankful that you joined us today, and we hope that this video opened up some dialogue. You show it to your spouse if they're not around. Say, hey, let's just watch this together. And then your homework that we're giving you is to sit and talk about your vision for parenting, zoning on your child, what you believe is best for them, and what you need to do in order to support them in a healthy way, and have all these conversations behind closed doors, not in front of the child. Okay? Yes, you don't want them to know that you have disagreements and everything. As it relates to, you don't want to do any fighting or arguments in front of the child about parenting. That's adult parenting business. Go into your space and have this conversation. If you need help, reach out to us. We are here. We will help you with that process. So until next time, thank you so much for joining us. Until next Monday, take
Thank you.
care and have a very blessed week.
Bye bye.